Welcome to Small Venue Music. Our podcast showcases the amazing local musicians and incredible small music venues right here in Richmond, Virginia. Join us each episode as we talk to musicians, venue owners, and even fans to help everyone get a better understanding of what makes our local music scene so special. Whether you're a musician, a fan of music, or just curious about the local music scene, we think you'll really enjoy the show. On this episode of Small Venue Music, we'll be welcoming Justin Lauder to the show. Justin is an amazing singer and songwriter in Richmond, Virginia. He currently plays in local bands Flashlight Tag and Silly Bus. He's also an entertainment lawyer and the co-owner of the new winery and music venue Gramophone. We'll be talking to Justin about his approach to songwriting the Gramophone music venue and his experience as a lawyer to local artists. Justin will also perform a couple of his original songs from Don't Blink, Flashlight Tag's most recent album. We hope you enjoy the show. All right, welcome Justin Lauder to the show. I'm so excited to have you. Thanks so much for doing this.
Excited to be here. Thanks for having me, Don.
So, hey, Justin, I was thinking, I've known you for quite a long time, and I was wondering, for folks who didn't know you, how I would describe you. And I'm going to embarrass you here just to get us started. I think you might be what I consider like the modern Renaissance man, because you're a songwriter, you're a guitarist, you're a singer, but you're also an entertainment lawyer to many amazing artists in town. You are a now co-owner of this amazing venue for both a winery and a small music venue here in town called Gramophone. And I know this about you. You've just been an amazing supporter through your nonprofit work of the arts here in Richmond. So I couldn't think of a better guest to have on the show. So I hope I've sufficiently embarrassed you to get started, but thanks so much for doing this.
Oh, you're welcome. And I'll take it. Renaissance man. Put my business card. Don says.
Renaissance man. Well, hey, I thought we could start off by talking about, because there's so much that we could talk about, but I would love to talk about songwriting because it seems like very recent. But at this venue, only last Thursday, you had, I think it was a songwriters round robin. And exactly. I was wondering if you could share a little bit about the event and how it went.
Well, the event, it went well. Yeah. Packed house in Gramophone. So It's always great to have live music in our space. In fact, it was our first musical performance. We've had some karaoke and some poetry, but our first official music event. Part of that's because we just got our licensing from ASCAP and BMI for songwriting rights for
I am not shocked that.
But we're waiting. Most venues don't wait. Right. They just like infringe and wait to get caught. But it's important to us to have the rights and for songwriters to get paid. Yeah. But no, I mean, we had no idea what was going to happen or what to expect. Yeah. We because we were waiting on the licenses, we started promoting 2 weeks out, and it was a sellout for all purposes. And we had 3 amazing songwriters: Michael Clem, Sarah White, BJ Cosin, and then I was part of it too. So 4 amazing songwriters, we will say. Well, it sounds awesome. And is there something you think you might do again? Oh yes, certainly. I mean, part of Gramophone, the community we're building is an arts community. As you'll see, some in the background, but there's art on the walls. I already said we had poetry. Yeah. We have live music. We're hoping to have comedy, just all types of performing arts. And making it a space for Westover Hills, which is the part of Richmond we're in. Yeah. But we hope to have music here multiple times a week. In fact, based on our licenses, we can only have it 3 times a week. Or we got to pay more money, which we'll gladly pay. But we're just not there yet. So very cool. I'm glad the first event went so well. So I'd love to continue to talk about you as a songwriter. Okay. And I'll throw out a softball. Like, can you share what's the very first song you wrote? Can you remember? I'll enjoy this coffee real quick. Yeah. No, I cannot remember. No. Because I was very young. Yeah. I was, I don't know, 8, 7. Although I can say, I do remember vividly singing and dancing around outside in our home in Mistwood Forest, which is in Chester, Virginia, and saying to my mom, I want to be a songwriter or a singer. And she's like, oh, yes, you can be that. Yeah. Yeah, that stuck with me. But the first...
I take it that means you wrote a lot of songs in your youth then.
Yes. Yeah. Well, in Mistwood Forest, you did 1 or 2 things. You played street hockey, roller hockey, or you played music. And what we did is if it was a nice day, we play street hockey. And if it wasn't, we play music. And we just write our own songs. Because why not?
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy. I mean, we couldn't remember other people's songs, so we just write our own.
Can you remember the first time you actually went into, I'll loosely say studio, whether that's like a home studio or not, to actually record something and publish it?
Our first cassette tape album.
Yes.
Was
I was wondering what era it would be, cassette, CD.
Yeah, you know, it was recorded in maybe 92, 91. I still have copies of it. The name of the band was Dick Assman and the Crinkle Cut Bubbas.
Wow.
And it was taken from Late Night with David Letterman.
Yeah.
And there was this recurring joke about this guy in Canada named Dick Assman. It turns out his name's Dick Osman, but they're calling him Dick Assman. And so that was part of the name. And then on an episode, it was, they had these die that they'd roll, and it was supposed to be your band die.
Yeah.
And so they rolled it and it said Crinkle Cut Bubbas. So so that featured some original songs. And then from there, we had a band called Clear Skies, which released our follow-up from Dick Assman with the new band name, probably in 94. And then some other cassette tapes until we started recording to CD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the first CD that you can think of that you put out?
The first CD was probably our Thomasdale High School Jazz Band recorded an album.
Yeah.
And Sam, who's running sound,
Yeah.
he was in that band. And then the band I was in at the time, we went to Sound of Music in 2001 and recorded Reel to Reel. Oh, that's not true. We recorded 1999 at In Your Ear, which had just opened because we won the Battle of the Bands, and we recorded and released an EP. And then we went to Sound of Music and recorded Reel to Reel for the first full-length album, which was recorded in 2001-ish and released in 2003.
Is any of it available in streaming now or just CD?
Yes, the parts of the EP are available, but the full-length album is on Spotify, Junction, ... and Rain.
Oh.
Originally it was going to be called Wood and Rain.
Yeah.
And then someone made an artistic decision to remove wood and put just some dots. So elliptical, I guess. And then before that, it was called Madison Junction when Sam was in the band because he came with Madison. And then Sam left for more lucrative pursuits with Leon Milmore.
Yeah.
And then so it just became Junction.
So you've been playing now for, gosh, actually, I'll ask you, how long with Flashlight Tag?
So Flashlight Tag birthed out of Silly Bus, which is the children's group that we're part of.
Yeah.
Because Silly Bus didn't want to record a holiday album. And so Brian Phelps, who's the other founder of Flashlight Tag, Brian and I had started co-writing some. I was like, hey, do you want to release a holiday album? I was like, sure. And so that was 2009.
Okay.
We started, I think it released in 2010, but we started recording in 2009, somewhere around there.
And so is that a full-length album you put out?
Well, originally it wasn't. It was a combination of originals and cover songs, all public domain.
Yeah.
Because we don't pay mechanical royalties, and that's why Silly Bus released a children's covers album in part two, but with all public domain songs because it ties back to the legal. But it originally released with 8 songs on CD, and then in 2020, Brian and I decided at some point we were going to bubble together. And so we started recording again, and we released some singles during the pandemic. But we went and we recorded 2 new songs and made it a full-length album, and then put it up on Spotify. It's just called Christmas. And what's interesting about that too, right, is in 2009, 2010, when we were recording, both of us grew up once again in Chester, and we're from the sort of Christianity, the Christian faith. And we're just like, oh, well, we know we celebrate Christmas. We'll call it Christmas. In 2023, it seems almost like it's a political statement to say this album's called Christmas.
Right.
So probably would have made it more holiday themed, but that's what the artwork was all designed around that based on, the faith we grew up in. But so record some new songs. And then one song that didn't go on there was our song called Holiday Movie, which ponders the decades old question whether or not Die Hard is a holiday movie. And it's our first explicit song.
Yeah.
Because you say yippee-ki-yay, mother. And Yeah. Yes, that's a fun one. But that wasn't on the re-released album. It's just a standalone single.
And then obviously you guys released a full-length, full band album in 2022.
Yes, well, but before that though, we released another album in 2014 called Americana Electronica, which was the sort of a, once again, it's funny if you look at our trajectory, you think that we were probably preppers living in the woods and far right-wing conspiracy, because we released Christmas and then a song about the USA. But that grew out of a love for Brian Wilson, and he said that Smile was a love song to America.
Yeah.
And Smile is a masterpiece. And we're never going to recreate Smile, but we wanted to look at where we were with the eyes of then 2014. So we took songs from the American canon treasury and we recreated those. And then we wrote songs about historic figures in American history, like Paul Revere, Benedict Arnold. And that was Brian Phelps and I, we arranged all those and we recorded probably 90% of the instruments. But then we asked friends, Michael Bishop from Guar, Terry Clark from Carbon Leaf, Sarah White, our friend Jack Brush, who's a voice actor and a musician, Sam Bennett on keys, Daniel Clark on keys, Sam mixed and mastered it. So yes, that was our group project. Then years later in 2022, the first official Flashlight Tag as the core group of 5 guys band album came out, Don't Blink. So,
and how long, because I have seen, obviously you guys play live for years now. So I'd heard a lot of the songs on Don't Blink, but how long in the making, like if you were to go back to when was the first song that's on Don't Blink written and performed?
Let me think about that. So
I was trying to think of, is this an album that was sort of 8 years in the making, or?
Likely. I mean, the way that I create and the way, in Flashlight Tag isn't me. Flashlight Tag is me and Brian, and then it's me, Brian Phelps, Sam Bennett, Lee Brooks, and Brian Durrett. And so there's different variations of Flashlight Tag, but the songs on the Flashlight Tag album, some of them were written back when I was in law school in 2001, 2002 timeframe. And Sam and I had another band called Ben It Laughing, B-E-N space I-T Laughing, a play on Sam Bennett, Justin Lauder, that had, Sam was in it, I was in it, our friend Robert Smith, and funny side story. He's in Silly Bus, and everyone, they just called him Bobby. So I'd call him Bobby. And then I knew the guy for 10 years, and he said he's got a southern draw from Buchanan County. He's like, Justin, I don't like being called Bobby. I was like, what?
How many years in was this?
Yeah. And he said, the guys call me Bobby to just pick on me. And she's like, nah, just so you know. I was like, okay, Robert, which is really weird. But no, I still call him Bobby. Yeah. He's fine with it. But we'd recorded or tried to record some of those songs, I believe. So then fast forward, and I think everyone thought they were good songs for us to play. So we recorded some of those, and then new songs were written between 2014 and 2017 when we started recording. And then life and pandemic and things just took their toll. And so the album didn't come out till 2022. But we're always, like any band, I imagine, we're incorporating new songs, and then some songs fall off. And Flashlight Tag only plays originals, though. We don't play any covers. And the guys want to, and I'm not necessarily against it, but I frankly can't remember anyone else's lyrics. So I just, the only cover we possibly could play is Bruce Hornsby's The Way It Is. But then Sam doesn't want to do the keys part. So it's interesting, Jessica, because I was thinking about back to Don't Blink.
So I spent a lot of time listening to the album. By the way, I think it's fantastic. I've loved it. I mean,
very kind.
Obviously, I've listened to you guys play it live for quite a while, but like to have the full produced versions of it is amazing. And I was starting to listen to the lyrics a lot more, and that's why I was asking how long in the making, because there's so many songs on the album that they're sort of relationship oriented, but they're like almost like, well, this is a happy one and this is a sad one. And so I had at least the impression that maybe they were written over of lyrically at least, different influences over quite a period of time.
Yeah. So my history of writing, when I first started writing, it was with one main collaborator, and then started writing on my own. And then after the high school college band, when I went to law school, was no longer in that group. I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. I was doing some solo stuff, and Sam Bennett, once again, he's probably the reason why I still play music, because Sam was such a supporter, and he'd say, "I like your songs. We should record these." And actually, we had recorded our first duo album called Six Chapter in like 1998, 99 at his house. And this coffee is now dead to me. The fly is
I noticed he's flying around.
So, but
keep them out of the wine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The fly doesn't know what's good for it. But no. So Sam said you should keep playing, and so I started playing some solo shows in law school. And then John Hindenburger, who was in Leon Millmore, those guys, Troy Miller, who's been on your show.
Yeah.
Troy had stopped playing some shows with Leon. So Sam said Justin could play. So that's how I met Lee and John. And so I started playing the guitar role for Leon when Troy didn't want to play.
Yeah.
And Troy's a much different
style
lead guitarist to me. And I'd say probably a much better lead guitarist, like traditional lead guitarist. I mean, he's an amazing player, but so that was it was a great job in that I learned a lot. It was sort of an unforgiving job, because every time we play a show, a fan of Leon would come up and say, "You're not Troy." I'm not Troy.
I'm not trying to be.
I'm not trying to be. But from that, then probably with Sam's encouragement, the guys asked me to join Silly Bus, because they were forming the children's band. And that really juiced my songwriting, jump-started in a new direction, because it was, we need to write specific songs for a specific purpose, and we need to be scientific about it. So I don't know if you listen to They Might Be Giants, but I mean, they're songs, they're story songs, and they're very explorational. So Silly Bus started me down that path of writing. And so for a long time, I was just thinking about writing songs about kites and owls and eggs, like eating eggs. It was just, I love eggs. So that one came naturally. It's actually about my grandma cooking me eggs. But so when it came time to write songs, which then made their way on to Don't Blink, there have been a decade of different relationships and experiences. So when trying to figure out what songs would go on an album, I had to think of a complete thought. And this complete thought would be one about relationships and different types of love, whether it's romantic or filial or agape. It's been a while since I've studied the various words for love. But yeah, and then so some of the songs were old, and some of the songs were new. And maybe if you listened, you could probably tell the timing of each one, given the style of writing, or maybe not. But I could tell you when each one's written about. And some of them are written about people, and some of them are written about a feeling. Yeah. And some of them are written about a story that I made up in my mind. So.
Yeah, I was wondering how much of it was autobiographical and not. And because I was listening to him recently, I'm like, and I love the whole album, and I'm like, wow, almost like, because there's Beacon, which is this wonderful, at least I always hear it as like oh wow, this person brings out something so special in me, and it makes me want to move too. And I always get excited when I hear it. And then Unraveling, which is like a whole other side. Yeah. Where I'm like, I admit, I love sad songs. So that one I always put on when I'm like, I need a sad one. And it's
well, those two songs are very, very different backgrounds. Beacon is about, I sort of dated someone. We never crossed over into a romantic relationship, but we had gone out on some dates. Yeah. And this person had a daughter, and the daughter like posted a photo to or a video to Facebook, and it was basically like daughter and friends like encouraging the mom to dance. And you could tell that the mom was sort of reluctant, but she did it because her daughter and her daughter's friends thought it'd be so fun and basically laugh at her. And I thought that it was such an amazing thing, like that joy and that love to make a fool out of yourself for your kid to be happy.
Wow, that gives a whole other angle I would not have picked up on.
Yeah, so it's just sort of about, so that's sort of the inspiration of it. Yeah. And then Unraveling actually was about not about that's about a platonic relationship, about a friend who's actually part of another group I was in.
Yeah.
And just being what's the way to put it? It was the friction in the relationship, not just with me, with other band members. There was a lot of puffery, and then there was a lot of anger. And so that was about,
I don't mean to bring you back to it.
I know that's okay. And actually I've gotten some good some of my best songs have been inspired by this person and their prompts, because we're still friends. And and so that song was a gift from that person, and then a handful of others which folks tend to say might be some of my better songs. So I'm grateful for that relationship. So
well, I feel something when I hear it. So obviously it came from a real place. Hey, one of the things I thought was very cool about when you released Don't Blink was the release party you had, because you did it at your Christmas event at the Tin Pan. And I was wondering if you could share, and you played it like end to end, which I thought was fantastic. It's something you've been doing for several years. I wonder if you could share a little bit about like what the Christmas show was at the Tin Pan for folks who might have not have had a chance to attend.
Yeah. So, Brian and I, once again, Brian Phelps, we love costumes and we love parties. And part of Flashlight Tag Stick is that, I mean, we play music, but also we've got a whole series of pizza videos. If you go to YouTube, 1 minute pizza reviews, and we've got plans for a sock puppet show, and we're like WWE style wrestling, and we've got all sorts of things in the works because we view it as an art project. So, and also, actually, one thing to note, along with the holiday album, we were inspired by Noah Scalen's 365 a day blog, right, of creating art every day. And so what we did is we said every week we're going to write and record a music video. And so for a long time we were writing and recording these videos, which still live on YouTube. But kind of coming out of that, when we were going to do our first show, we had some fans, but we can usually sell joy, right? Because everyone wants joy. Like, he doesn't want the joy. And so what would be awesome? It's like, well, why don't we do a show and we'll call it Flashlight Tag Presents a Christmas Carol. And the beginning of the show will be us talking about how we're sort of destitute because of all our YouTube money dried up, and then have the ghost of Christmas past and Christmas presents, Christmas presents and Christmas yet to come. And so that was at Ashland Coffee and Tea. And that began the first of our themed shows. But yeah, I mean, once again, we love the holidays in general. So the show has costumes and guests and typically a theme. So we've done a Christmas Carol. We've done we did Rudolph's Rock and Roll Review, which was a variety show. Which one did Third Rail play? Was that the Rock and Roll Review? Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
And then we
I still remember the Grinch.
Yeah. I still have green face paint on my mic from the Grinch. And then the one we did last year was it was what was that one? What was the theme like? Oh, it was
your release party.
It was a release party.
Just to remind you.
But it was like it was fragile, like a what's it? It was, but we were sort of a play on A Christmas Story.
Yeah.
And then the first part of the show was the album, and then the rest of it was just holiday shenanigans. So
one of the things I've liked is I've attended, I think 2 out of have you done 3 or 4?
Well, we've done at least 3.
At least 3.
Because one was at Ashland Coffee and Tea.
Okay. So I've been to 2 of the ones at the Tin Pan, and the thing, one, it's an amazing event, and a few things I've always loved about it is, one, it's you invite so many musicians to play. So whether it's a small part or a large part, or they're playing like a whole set, or they're playing like a single song, or they're even joining for like a collaboration. So it is it's always left me with the feeling of like this wonderful celebration of Richmond musicians as a part of the event. And the part's cool. It's also always been done for charities, which I think is very cool.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's all about giving.
Yeah.
And I guess 'tis the season. I mean, but that was the whole thing with Third Rail, right? Yeah. Every show, right, was to benefit a nonprofit. Yeah. It's the same spirit of using our art, our music to hopefully make the world tad bit better, through charities that we wish to support.
So I know it's got to be a ton of work to put that on. Do you plan to keep doing it? Have you decided yet?
We will, probably not this year. But every other year, sometimes.
Every other year.
Yeah. This year was hectic for a variety of reasons, but, yeah. And we've got a book pretty far out, and then learn all the holiday songs again. So we're probably, it's probably too late for 2023, but 2024, we already have the theme and, our go-to, friends. It's kind of flattering. People ask to be part of it now.
Yeah.
Which is fun. Yeah. And it is, we've had folks come up and, hug us afterwards and say that it's really helped make their season a bit brighter, or, things had them down, but now they feel, they've said like, we haven't felt the holidays. Like it's been years since I felt the magic, and at least for a moment. And that's part of music and songwriting and entertainment is that, and I'm not unique. These aren't my original thoughts, but for this 2 hours, if someone can forget everything that's weighing them down, you've done your job. And that's what the holiday show is for.
Well, count me on that list of people who love it and look forward to 2024.
Thank you.
When you decide to go back on it.
I'll say, I did want to note,
a
lot of what went into the Flashlight Tag shows, and then also in Silly Bus, is inspired by Gwar, the heavy metal band, because of the idea of we will just create it. We don't have it. Let's create it. Let's use what we have around us. And you know what? It might not be X, but it certainly be Y, and Y is going to be super cool, whatever it is. And so that's how we ended up with our friend Jack, like building boxes to walk around as the ghost of Christmas presents. And also too, that was the beginning of us giving presents, because part of the holiday show is I get to go to the dollar store and buy a bunch of stuff, which is fun. Although it's not $1 anymore, it's $1.25.
Yeah, bad marketing.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I guess because of inflation.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's like the nickel bridge now is 50 cents.
So,
I mean, so you got to watch out.
Hey, we talked a little bit about influences. Could you share like what style or styles of music did you grow up listening to?
Well, sort of what did I personally choose to listen to and what was around.
Yeah.
So my parents are both very supportive of music, but neither are super into music. I mean, they like music, but they're sort of casual listeners. So growing up, it was just whatever's on the radio.
Yeah.
Until Garth Brooks showed up. I was like, kind of listen to that Garth Brooks. So that has that's probably the first thing I was like, I'm gonna need some Garth Brooks in my life. And then the first cassette tapes I bought, actually probably not the first cassette tapes I bought, but maybe the first cassette tape I bought with my own money was Criss Cross.
Christopher Cross?
No.
Criss
Cross. Totally different. Yeah.
Dude.
The reverse clothing. Yeah.
Jump.
But yeah. So growing up, just Q94, and then sometimes, occasionally, country music. Being in Central Virginia, you think there'd be more of it. My parents were more rock, but casual rock pop, and then my grandparents would listen to country. But for me, when I started choosing music, influences are Bruce Hornsby, all day, every day, and Genesis. I like Genesis, and it sort of pains me to say this because I try never to get this not association, but comparison is you couldn't be a kid in the mid 90s and not listen to Dave Matthews.
Yeah.
Unless you're like the other side of it, right? Because there's grunge. So we're listening to Nirvana and we were listening to Pearl Jam, and then Kurt died, and then it's like, oh, the grunge is too grungy. So we want to party now. So we're going to listen to a little acoustic music, party music, like I wasn't a Blues Traveler fan really, but the music changed. And so some folks went more into punk, which I love punk and metal now. I kind of came about it later in the early aughts, but our friend group went to jam bands. So Widespread Panic and Fish and just mass consumption of music, just going to the record shop and buying stuff based on the album art.
Yeah.
But
how about now?
Oh, now I just try to find, I guess I'm a little bit old school in that I still buy CDs. And everyone's buying vinyl now, but But I stream some. But now I try to focus on all types of music, because streaming allows us to listen. But in my car, Josh Ritter, who I think is an American treasure and one of the best songwriters alive at the moment. So tons of Josh Ritter. Girl Ultra, which is Mexican pop music, which is incredible. It's like my top listened artist was Girl Ultra. So I think what else? A lot of Mike Doty. Was a Soul Coughing fan growing up, and then Mike later, probably around 2003, 2005, released his first solo album. Not a Surf. Trying to think. A lot of rock music mainly, but then John Prine, Todd Snyder, Hardworking Americans. Lyle Lovett, just saw Lyle. I was supposed to see John Hyatt, but he broke his leg, I think. So hopefully John's healing up nicely. But Slade Cleaves, Rod Picott, Greg Trooper, just amazing songwriters, Robbie Folks. There's a whole group of art, because what happened is in 2003-ish, I met a guy named Brian Lewis at William & Mary Law School, and he said, "Hey, you like music? Here, listen to this music." And he introduced me to so much. So Brian and I would go up to DC and buy CDs, and then we would stop at Ashton Coffee and TNC shows. So Scott Miller, I don't know if you know his music, but Scott's amazing. So yeah, I probably just
it's okay.
all night.
Do you have any? Obviously, you know a ton of local artists here, given both your songwriting and the other day job you have. Any local artists that are kind of top of your list right now that you'd like to listen to?
Oh, let me think about that. Local artists I listen to. Well, there's not immediately local, but Illiterate Light from Harrisonburg, amazing group. And then also a band from Harrisonburg, Palmyra, which they're friends with Illiterate Light. They're among my just steady streaming. Landon Elliott's amazing. Ali Thibodeau, Doe Eyes, true artist. Hannah Goad, Ryder. Check out Ryder. They were in a super group with Angelica Garcia, who was in Richmond. They moved to LA and then to New York. They had a band called Whatever Honey. Biorhythmo. You can't not love Biorhythmo. Well, then you get into the metal bands. Guar. Probably listen to Guar at least 6 days a week.
Really?
Yeah. I can't get enough. Municipal Waste is amazing. There's a band called Iron Reagan, which is awesome. I'm trying to think of Bat. Clutch is a hard rock metal band from Maryland, and listen to Clutch all the time. So probably if you were to go in my car, you'd find a Clutch album, a Guar album. You'd find Bruce Hornsby, Josh Ritter right now. Duncan Sheik has released some great art over the years. His album Daylight is a true masterpiece and one in my top 10. So I'm trying to think of other local artists, because there are. I mean, we're fortunate to live in a community. Oh, Prabir Trio, Gold Rush, Prabir and the Substitutes. Anything Prabir touches is amazing. I'm sure there's someone I'm leaving out as soon as I get.
That's all right.
I forgot.
You've gone through more than I would have expected.
Oh, Sarah White. Sarah's not originally from Richmond, but now she's a Richmond transplant. Sarah's here. Her album High Flyer is a true masterpiece. But I'll probably think of some more.
That's all right. We'll go back and talk about it. Hey, one of the things you said you do would be to play some music on the show. So could I ask you to take a quick break, get set up, and have you play a couple songs for us?
Sure, we'd love to.
Awesome. Well, hey, that was great. We'll be right back and take a quick break. See you soon.
Cool. She took me by surprise with a kiss on a Saturday night. A carnival in the town square with all eyes watching. She took my hand. I wanna bear with my pictures on. She danced around in celebration celebration. She named it Sue after that Cash song. Sue is to bear as we are to love. Please take me home before she goes. Couldn't stand to live a moment with her gone. If she should fall with coming snow, this will be the coldest winter I've ever known. Every year in the fall, she buys a candied apple. While it's warm, we'll each take bites. Once at the core, our hearts unite. Please take me before she goes. Couldn't stand to live a moment with her gone. If she should fall with coming snow, this will be the coldest winter I've ever known. Ever known. I've ever known. I've ever known. I took her to be my wife 2 years since the Ferris wheel ride. Now Sue sits on her nightstand, protecting all that he began. So please take me before she goes. I couldn't stand to live a moment with her gone. If she should fall with coming snow, this will be the coldest winter I've ever known. Thank you. Control is what I lack. I give it all, but nothing back. Control is what I lack. I give it all, for nothing back. Talk to here, call, I come running. She's sticking, I keep insisting that she won't take crap. Here, call, I come running. She's sticking, I keep insisting that she won't take crap. Control is what I need, but I'm just sitting here blowing steam. Control is what I need, but I'm just sitting here blowing steam. Here, call, I come running. She's sticking, I keep insisting that she won't take crap. Here, call, I come running. She's sticking, I keep insisting that she won't take crap. One day I might change my mind, but she's worth it. 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 Here, call, I come running. She's sticking, I keep insisting that she won't take crap. Here, call, I come running. she's together, but I keep insisting that she won't take crap.
All right, welcome back. Hey, that was great, man. Thanks so much for doing it.
Oh, you're welcome.
Hey, I thought we could spend a little bit of time talking about your work as an entertainment lawyer, because I know a lot of folks that listen to this are musicians, and I think they'll be fascinated by it. And I guess first, could you start maybe just in your own words, like, because I'm not sure everyone knows what an entertainment lawyer is. What types of services do you sort of provide in your practice? And then I've got a bunch of follow-up questions.
Yeah, so entertainment law, and my specific niche is music law, but visual, theater, film to a certain extent. But music, because I'm a musician, that's what I love. And I became a music attorney because friends are musicians and they asked, can you help with this? And for my own purposes and for theirs, I started learning it. But really, that's an industry, a genre of the law. So really all an entertainment attorney does is business law, intellectual property law, the related agreements. And then when you get into film in particular, but sometimes in music and you see it a lot in theater as well, but private security. So raising monies in a non-public securities transaction. So, hey, we've started a company, we're going to make a movie, or we're going to create a publishing house. We need monies to purchase assets to pay for these various bits of work that we can't do internally. Let's bring in money. So I say business law, intellectual property law, and sometimes private securities, and then the actual specific agreements. So having some familiarity with record agreements or publishing agreements, licensing. So
as it relates to your work with artists in the law, I'm always curious, and I'm sure a lot of what are some of the big mistakes you see people make? And I don't mean like, hey, tell us about your actual clients, just more like in general, that where you're like, oh, I wish they would have known, sort of thing.
So one mistake is sometimes I'll meet songwriters or musicians that don't want to perform and don't want to share their music, whether it could be public performance playing it, it could be public performance by posting it for folks to hear, but they'll be too protective of their art that they're so afraid someone's going to steal from them that they never share it with anyone. And that's not helping them because no one can hear their art. It's also not helping the community because no one's experiencing their art. So I'd say don't be afraid.
Yeah.
So share. However, take certain steps to protect yourself. First, copyright law, copyright protects original works of authorship fixed in a tangible form. And so your rights will vest in your copyright when you're actually fixing it. So if you're a songwriter, most folks probably pull out their phone and they record a voice memo. Well, the moment that voice memo is created, you fixed your original work of authorship in a tangible form, so you have copyright rights. There's benefits to registering it, but at a bare minimum, you have rights.
Yeah.
And also, too, you've got a nice timestamp. And so if later someone else said you stole it from them, like, well, no, I've got my voice memo from 2003. It's in my pocket.
Right, here's my proof.
It probably wouldn't be 2003. That's a bad date.
Bad date.
2010. But yeah, so one mistake is just being so afraid to share that you cut yourself off at the knees, right? Your art's not out there. Second, I would say that they're afraid to, and actually I think it's all kind of rooted in being afraid.
Yeah.
First is you're afraid to share because someone's going to steal. Second, you're afraid to engage with folks when you're trying to figure out what the deal is. So when you're working with other musicians or working with a mixer, working with an engineer recording, to not have those conversations as to who's going to own this, right? What are the rights?
So you're debating it after it happened?
Exactly. Yeah, we don't want to address it now. So we delay, and then later it's even more awkward.
Yeah.
And typically musicians and songwriters and artists are highly sensitive people, highly creative, and they don't like confrontation, right? And I've experienced this in my own relationships. We're all humans. And really legal problems typically arise because there's been a failure to communicate, right? At some point. or maybe you did communicate, but you didn't capture it. And memories are garbage. I mean, I talk about me in the bands earlier, and there's been conversations where I'll basically, look, I never said that.
Right.
I didn't say that. And then Sam or Brian will like roll up in a text message thread from like weeks before, and they'll send me a screenshot. It's like, oh, I did say that.
Whoops.
Sorry guys. Because so one is you should talk about it, because you have to decide, has there been a meeting of the minds? Have we agreed to what this is? And then second, if you've gone through the work of deciding something, make sure you document it somewhere, because memories are garbage.
Yeah.
So
how do you think about it as it relates to songwriting within a band? And I've just never experienced this yet, where there's a sort of, because often it's a collaborative affair. And so there's a, like, who wrote the song? And because they evolve sometimes over time when you're,
it's a,
and as a, you're both, I'm really curious how you think about it, because you're both, in a band and you're an attorney, and you probably see like the, who's got what rights to what, sort of questions.
Well, it depends on how you write.
Yeah.
So there are bands like, take Guar, for example, or Kepone, which is actually earlier when we were talking about bands and influences, Kepone. It's Kepone, as in the chemical dumped in the rivers by, I don't forget which company, in Hopewell, and then Dan Rather uncovered it, but Ugly Dance by Kepone, true art. It'll change your life. But Kepone, they'll jam and then they'll write songs, right? And that's how they come. I typically am a writer that I'll go away and I'll just start thinking of stuff and I'll write it. So when I bring it to the band, we've got top line melody and lyrics.
Yeah.
And so the song is basically there. So when it comes to composition rights, usually I'm the sole songwriter. Not to say, other guys in the band, they write songs as well, but for usually other projects. There have been some co-writes with Brian Phelps, like probably our fan favorite is a song about hush puppies, about the fried food.
Yeah.
Which that song was written because back when we were doing the videos, we posted on Facebook, like, what should we write about? And someone wrote puppies. And I thought, well, we should write about hush puppies. And so that song, I wrote the melody, the verse and the chorus. And I had the chorus done lyrically, and I had the first verse. And I specifically held back because I wanted it to be a co-write. So then when I went to Brian's house on Thursday, then we started researching, and then the rest of the lyrics, we co-wrote those. But yeah, so I guess the question is, how was it created? So in that instance, if someone has created the lyrics and the melody, then brings it to a group, then you probably have a songwriter, and then you have arrangement rights. And then if you've got sound recordings, everyone who performed on that recording, they created that together, so they all own it. They're joint authors of the work. In other scenarios, though, if let's say you show up to band practice and you've got an idea, and it's not, you've got some lyrics, maybe some melody, but then you're in a room and everyone's kind of working together and figuring it out together, then that's more of a co-write situation. And then the question becomes, who owns what and what percentage? Because, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you got me thinking, because like, on the one hand, it sounds like it's good to memorialize these things along the way because your memory's not good. But then sometimes the process of writing can be kind of organic. So, and songs evolve. So I'm just sitting there thinking, like, how do you unwind this stuff when it actually comes time to memorialize it sometimes and really get like, here's what each person's contribution was, sort of thing, which is that something you've had to deal with a lot? I have,
yeah. It comes up a lot. And bands have different positions on it. There are famous bands that historically have said all songwriting will be split among us all equally.
Yep.
It doesn't matter who did what. We're just going to split this. And sometimes those bands will stay together the longest because everyone economically is being treated the same. Versus it could be, not always, but there's maybe lead singer, lead guitarist is the primary writer. And so their income level is much higher, especially if you start having sync placements in videos and whether it's film or TV advertisements. But depending on where the band is in their career, that could make or break someone being essentially in poverty unless they're touring or not. Then when you get to be a mega band, then perhaps the money is so good that maybe if you're not getting writing credit, you're still just making great money. So would you rather go get a real job. And music is just, people say that, but music is a real job. My friends and clients who are professional musicians, they work incredibly hard, and oftentimes it's incredibly hard work that isn't rewarded.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's music is a real job.
Justin, when you think about artists and kind of at what stage they are, and maybe what type of, like, particularly let's focus on musicians, when does it make sense to get more formal about it? I mean, because they're what I'll call the hobbyist, play around town. Maybe they've written a few, maybe they'll put out an EP, but they might not at least intellectually think they're going into it to make a lot of money. And then there's some people that are, even in town that we both know that are really going for it. Is you kind of entertain who really should have legal representation? Is there any kind of, I almost say, like, guidance you would give to musical artists about when it makes sense to sort of formalize it?
I would say, what is your purpose? And what I mean by that is, if your purpose is to be a professional musician, then you should treat it as a profession. And so if you're just getting started and your intent, though, is to perform more and more shows, to release albums, you should reach out to an attorney and at least have a basic conversation. Maybe you're not ready to spend money yet.
Yeah.
But if you treat it like a business, then it is a business versus a hobby.
That actually simplified it a lot for me. Like, it all comes down to the purpose. And, if you kind of know where you want to take this thing, treat it like you're going to get there in the beginning. So, how do people find you? Is it all word of mouth?
Yeah, most of it is word of mouth. At this point, I've been doing it now for 18 years.
Wow.
Yeah, about to go into my 19th. So it's been a while, but yeah, just people say, call Justin. It's quite flattering, because sometimes I run into folks like, oh, you're the Justin. Yeah. It's like, I'm Justin, the attorney. And then there's Curtis Grimstead. Curtis is the business manager, which is essentially accountant for musicians. So people are like, oh, I need Justin, I need Curtis, or Curtis and Justin. And then we also send clients to each other, because we know we'll do a good job. And there's other folks in the area that do this, but I do feel that the two of us in particular, we're around the same age.
Yeah. And
both of us had a love of music, and both of us play in bands, and both of us were involved with Gallery 5 and part of the art scene and music scene. And so it just sort of grows naturally from that. And that was purposeful. When I started my career, I was at a law firm that focused primarily on real estate, and I was learning business law and some IP and some private securities. But in 2009, with the Great Recession, me and 30 of our friends were laid off. And so it was scary, but it taught me that if you're going to place a bet, place it on yourself.
Yeah. And
so I was able to quickly find a job at an intellectual property boutique law firm to focus on trademark, copyright, internet law, and then more on music. And then through the arts community, I was offered a position, or offered to apply and pursue a position with Virginians for the Arts. And then from there, I started with my law partner, Chris Gaywood, at Threshold Counsel. And then I could just do whatever I wanted to, because I was a partner of a law firm. And then that's when my career sort of took off, in the sense that when you can control your world and you don't have partners telling you to work on this file or that file, you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. So,
well, it is a great story how, like, your passion for actually making music and then your interest in law came together in the end, which sometimes you get lucky in life, sometimes purposeful. It sounds like a little bit of combination of both. This ended up to be the way.
I mean, the law school, going back to the band from high school and college, we were playing 4 to 5 nights a week and making great money. I mean, we're talking early aughts, late 90s, $1,500, $2,000 a gig when we're in our early 20s, and free beer. Yeah. And so we were living the high life. I was 20 pounds heavier too. And in a moment of thinking about what the future might hold, I decided that I needed to have a plan B if plan A, be a rock star, didn't work out. And and so I ended up, I was out of the band kept going. I went to law school, wasn't sure I wanted to go into IP or music law, but you can't hide who you are. and yeah, all my clients, all my friends were in the arts. So that's what happened. So
nice. Let's talk a little bit about this place.
yeah.
So, what a wonderful thing that you and your partners have created here. Can you talk a little bit about Gramophone? And first, why did you decide to go to start a winery and a music venue?
So it started because of my friend Arthur Grant, and he's the president and manager of Gramophone. And so if you're coming to Gramophone, you're probably going to see Arthur. He's usually behind the bar here, and he's the one that creates this, what I feel is a wonderful, hospitable environment. But you know, part of my law practice beyond just music is also working with breweries and wineries, and working with some meaderies, MEADERY. As I was talking to someone the other day, and they thought I said meadery, like eating a bunch of meat. Texas State, Brazil. I was like, no, maybe that is a thing. Honey. They probably are meadery. Yeah,
honey.
Honey wine. So Arthur had been in the food and beverage industry in all parts of it. I mean, he's managed restaurants, managed bars. He's been a liquor rep. He's just run the gauntlet, right? And I said, we should start a winery. And I said, yeah. Maybe you should start a winery. No, we should start one. It's like bear with me. And it's like Arthur and his family owned the building. Mm-hmm. And so the space had been, in transition, and said, look, I lived in Westover Hills for 14 years. And when we started this, I still lived here. And it would have been great. I just walked across the street and been here. But by the time it opened, I'd moved out west on a Tom Waits song, Going Out West. And actually Tom Waits is another one that I listen to a lot to, song influence. But no, so he said we should do this. And so it's Arthur, I'm part of it, and our friend Chris Mayo. We're three friends from high school. We all sort of grew up in band together, and we played music some with each other beyond that, but just remained friends. And so Arthur is the food and beverage expert. He knows how to run the place. I'm the attorney, so I know trademark and branding. I know about music rights. And then Chris, he's the IT tech guy, website. He's good with money and numbers, and so he's helped build in all our systems and make sure they work. But part of it is what could we create that would draw on our one, abilities and talents, but then two, be a community asset. And winery seemed like a great way to bring people to a space. And then all of us being musicians and loving music, the idea of helping nurture the music community was also of interest to us. And I've mentioned Ashland Coffee and Tea before, but Ashland Coffee and Tea was this place you could go and see amazing artists in a listening room environment. And Ashland Coffee and Tea went away, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, and sort of the magic was gone. Mm-hmm. There are other great venues, and Tin Pan, for example, you mentioned they do a wonderful job, but it's a different thing. And they found their own vibe, which is great. And then there's David Schultz, who actually, talking about Richmond musicians, David Schultz is an amazing songwriter, and he and his partner have Sefton Coffin. They have a listening series there, which is super cool. But here we're going to have a variety of music, but part of it will be curated listening music for singer-songwriters. And that's something I'm personally quite passionate about.
So that's I was going to ask you a question about, like, what's the vision for what you're going to do next here? Is that the...
Yeah, so here we're going to build, I know you can't see it.
We'll take some video.
Here we'll probably build a stage, and then might maybe have a floating stage. And then the idea is to have all genres of music. I mean, it's so funny. I was focused so much on folk and rock music that I forgot work with some amazing hip hop and jazz folks like Butcher Brown, amazing band, and then Devon Harris and Marcus Tinney, Andrew. All of them are great in their own jazz projects. Then Black Lick, who's a hip hop artist here in town, and love to have Black Lick here, and music we don't even know about. We have Britt Marshall is with us, and she's helping curate our events. And Britt's already sent us some music ideas of folks we've never even heard of. So I imagine for you with this, it's like Betacast, you're learning, right? Oh,
totally. And obviously your vision is music to my ears, which is do you want the nose?
Yeah.
Yeah, the idea of having another wonderful music venue in town to kind of add to the culture of the city is fantastic. So yeah, I really love what you guys are doing here. It's a great place for, and we're going to obviously celebrate this tonight when we put out the episode, and we encourage people to come to the upcoming events that you're going to have.
Right, thank you. Yeah, it's 4827 Forest Hill Avenue in the Westover Hills community, across from O'Toole's in the same strip as Maldini's, and open Wednesday through Sunday. And Wednesday nights, that's poetry night. Sunday nights, karaoke. Yeah. And then we're going to have live music, both ticketed shows and then some shows that are just free to the public. So some, just like your traditional brewery afternoon kind of show. But then we're going to have other music that'll be more of a listening room environment. So.
Well, hey, Justin, I can't thank you enough for both being on the show and, just so folks know, playing such a big role in actually getting small venue music started. And I really appreciate it. And helping us do this. I must tell you, you're a true gift to the Richmond art scene here in Richmond. And, both as a songwriter, a singer, a musician, a performer, I think the music you put out is just amazing. And with Flashlight Tag and a lot of the other work that you've done, but also just as a person in terms of how you've given back to the community in terms of supporting the arts and making this just like a wonderful place to live. So I really appreciate you being on the show. And, thanks so much for doing this. And I'm really glad that you live in the city of Richmond that I live, because you make it a better place. So, hey man, cheers. Thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to today's show. Please like or subscribe to our podcast to be notified of each new episode, and follow us on all of our social media channels. If you are a local Richmond band or venue owner and you'd like to be featured on the show, please feel free to send us an email at smallvenuemusic@gmail.com. We'd love feedback on each episode, so please leave a comment to let us know how we're doing. Thanks again for listening.